everyone, it's Cindy. Welcome back to Studioloo. So I figured it was time for a little bit of an update on where I am with Roxy's Journal of Stitchery for this lovely Journal of Stitchery that I've been working on. So we have been working away on the first block, which is the block that the themes are bouncing bunnies and vintage lace in the background. So let me tell you a little bit about this. So what I did first was I laid down all of my fabrics, and because I think I wanted to create a little bit of a landscape, I used greens and browns at the bottom, and then kind of got a little neutral and went up to blues in the sky. And then for the vintage lace, I used a little bit of blue lace here in the background, and then this was a little lace doily. I dyed this bit of it a purpley tone, and then I left the little bit in the middle alone. I cut them apart and I just put them back on. And then there's some other little details here, like this is lace. There's 3 of these to just kind of create like a little, it kind of draws you in to have 3 of something. And then I had these little laces and I added them because I thought they would just add cute little florally, a floral feeling. And these little bunnies were from the fabric that I showed you last time, and I ended up using 2 of them, and I really like how they look. I'm pretty happy with this. There is room if I need to add anything to it. I know that I think what Rachel and Sarah are planning is to give maybe a few more tips throughout the whole month or whatnot, and that may actually make me make another block. I don't know. I was just stoked to get into this project, like I think a lot of us were. So a lot of us weren't good at waiting around for instructions or participating in a slow stitching manner. So that's okay. I think that just really speaks to how inspiring this whole thing is. So if you didn't see last time, this is my sampler. I don't know if I showed the tab. I did create a little fabric tab. I haven't stitched anything on it yet, but I might. So there we go. We have a page basically in our sampler. So I needed to keep my hands busy in relation to this project. So I have a few more things I can show you that are kind of relative, and I mean totally relative to this project. So the first thing I'll show you is this, which I'm planning hopefully will be another page in this journal. It's going to be a garden of buttons, handmade buttons, in fact. So one of my lovely viewers, I'm trying to remember who it was right now. It starts with an L. It may be like Lenny or Lonnie P's place. I can't recall. But anyhow, she linked me to Gina B. Silks, who is on Instagram at minimum, and potentially YouTube, but I know she's on Instagram as Gina B. Silks. I think she's also on YouTube actually as Gina B. Silks. So anyways, I'll try to link, I will link all this in the description box below for both of those people. If they have channels, I will link them. So it's a 52 buttons challenge, basically. So each week there is a theme to make buttons. And like the way that Gina has done it is I think there's about probably 8 to 10 weeks already available to you to get started. So I finished week 1 and 2. So week 1, the theme was sparkly. And if you know anything about me, I try to be as weird as possible. So this is tinfoil that I super compressed into a button and really burnished and burnished. This could actually continue to get processed down to be about half the size if I wanted to. How do I know this? Well, for whatever reason in high school, I got extraordinarily into making this like little foil ball, and it was something that I would just play with like while I was in class, and I would just kind of twitter around with it and I would keep compressing it. And I have this really like a piece of foil that probably, all in all would have been maybe this big, like huge, probably the size of a cabbage with all of the foil that I added into it. It's compressed down to a ball about this big, and you would think it is made from like chromed, steel. It's amazing. So yeah, that was how I spent my time, just rolling a tinfoil ball around in high school. What does that say about me? I did other things too, I promise. But no, I just got it really into like certain things like physics and different sciences when I was in school, and still very much I am into those things. And so it was along those lines that I was playing with that ball. So the other one that I've completed is week 2, which is winter. So for me, winter is spent very much outside in the woods, walking around in the sparkly snow. So I took one of the buttons that I made. I made a bunch of buttons actually, from the trimmed branches of our apple tree. And so I've sealed it, sanded it, and you can see the bark around the edges. And so I just painted the center with a nice light blue, just with Americana spa blue paint. And then I added some sparkly, it's white and sparkles embossing powder, and then just heated it all up so that it's attached there. So that's my first 2 buttons for the garden of buttons. And this is being stitched actually on the pillowcase, the other end of the pillowcase that I made this cover from, that I used to slip the book inside. So everything gets used here, right? So this will be a bulky page, I think, but I'm hoping that I can fit it in here. If everything goes well, we'll see. I think I may have room, hopefully. If not, such is life. Then I wanted to show something to you that I found a long time ago. When my daughter was first born, we were antiquing. We're not firstborn. She was probably about a year old. And I had just started to think about, teaching her different things in the future. I mean, I've always thought about these things even before I had children, but I started to materialize how that would happen. So when we were in the antique store, I came across this piece of fabric, and it's lovely. It has beautiful zigzag stitching around it. Now, I don't know if this is its intention, but the concept that I had for its intention was, it says sew on button with needle and thread, and there's all these fabric buttons all over it. And then it has some amazing, like really cool buttons that are stitched to it already, that someone has shown you, how you can stitch a button on. And it's cool because a lot of the time they found a button that looks a lot like the one that it's stitched to. Now, I don't know if this was like manufactured this way or not, but I love it. I think it's a cool idea. Since then, I've thought about looking for, or even designing my own fabric that's similar to this, but it's a little different. It's maybe targeted toward homeschooling and like, teaching sewing and that kind of thing. Because that's what I am going to use it for, probably, is teaching my daughter to sew buttons. So she's 4 now, and I think, we're approaching that. But I wanted to share this just as, something that's special and related to everything that we do and how we pass it on. So, yeah, love that. It really kind of made me think because of this project. Then the other thing I did, now I will give you a disclaimer here. So I didn't follow a pattern for this. I just saw it on Sarah's channel, and I saw it being talked about in the Facebook group. And so this is my pin cushion, my slow stitched pin cushion. And I made it. I'm going to share a video with you right now. And then I will come back and tell you a little bit more about it. finished pin cushion. I am so happy. I love it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to put nice pins in and also to just kind of rest my hands on. If you couldn't tell in the video, I know it was kind of a rapid fire video and some parts might have been missed. So I'll just kind of quickly go through it with you. So basically I started with a piece of linen fabric that was about twice the width of this. This is 12 by 4, so it would have been, 24 by 8. And I actually did do a doubled up piece of fabric because I needed something substantial to stitch on. I really find that stitching fabrics to other fabrics, that base fabric, I really want something substantial. So I pieced everything down, pinned it and tacked it down. Chose a bunch of fabrics that I love. I think my favorite piece of this is this rose from a linen, this is from a vintage linen tea towel. And then also I have this little bird embroidery here, and I just really love, I've got some of my batik. I made this little moon fabric in a batik method with wax, and then I really just love this fabric, and I did some stitching here and there on top of this, added some like vintage doily pieces and stuff. And yeah, I'm really happy about it. So as you could tell in the video, once I got the fabric all, laid out and stitched, I did canvas stitching. Then I decided to fold it in half and stitch down one side and the bottom. Then I turned the whole thing inside right like it was a sock and used a large knitting needle to poke the edges out. Then for whatever reason, like the earth aligned with all of the rest of the planets or something, and I was able to pour exactly as much cracked walnut shells and lavender as I would need to exactly fill this. I have no idea. I didn't measure it. I just grabbed a bowl, dumped the walnut shells in, added some lavender, and it just was the right mix of lavender, and it was the right amount to fill the bag. I have no clue how I worked that one out, but yeah, so the walnuts, you can get them anywhere really. I know Amazon sells them, but if you're looking to purchase them from a local store or retailer, you can get them at pet supply stores usually. They're often used in terrariums for like lizards and things, because they do retain some moisture. So you can get them there. These are just English walnuts, crushed or cracked, or usually they're called crushed, English walnuts. And then the lavender is from a local lavender farm, and I just threw it in there because I just wanted it to smell nice. You could also use something that you like the smell of. You could use probably a tea or a potpourri or anything else that's kind of fragrant. Eucalyptus would be nice. So yeah, I'm happy. Mint also. You could get mint in there. Over time, mint does lose its smell a little bit. It sort of smells more like a green plant than just like minty. So just something to think about. I'm not a big user of oils and stuff for these kind of things. I'm just not. So but yeah, I'm really happy about this. And so once I got everything inside, I left about, I'd say 3/4 of an inch of excess. Then what I did was I used a heavy embroidery floss, like the whole skein, all 6 strands, and a really heavy darning needle. And I had to hand stitch this close because I would not even attempt to do this on a sewing machine. I just had these nightmares of like the crushed walnuts pouring into my sewing machine, and also it'd be too bulky, right? So what I did find though is I had to stitch through what had become 1, 2, 3, about 6 layers of fabric, because you've got your 2 base fabrics that I used as the base, and then the nice fabric on top, and then it's doubled over and folded in, right? So it's 6 layers, so it's kind of hard. So what I did was I held my needle against this hard table and pushed and used the leverage from the table to be able to get this through. it's kind of like doing leather work or something like that. So I also use these little, flat head would be better, but I use these rounded pliers to just pull my needle through to give my hands a break. And yeah, I went across it about 3 times back and forth. There's some crossing stitches as well as some straight stitches. And then instead of tying a knot, I did tie a knot, but then I wove the rest of the thread down through the stitches, kind of like when you're doing a knitting project, you know, you don't tie knots with knitting, you weave in your ends. So yeah, that is the extent of it, and I'm pretty happy about it. I really love it. So yep, I think I will make more of them. I'm thinking about making a few for the shop as well, because I know that not everybody can handle this kind of handwork. So yeah, thank you for joining me on this little adventure in making, and I'm still absolutely loving this project. So tell me what you're working on in this journal of stitching, or this journey of stitching, really, because we've now moved outside the journal, right? So thank you, Sarah, for the inspiration. My understanding is this is an Ann Wood pattern, so I didn't follow it. I just kind of do that whole eyeball, like, oh, what is that? Let's make one thing. But yeah, I really like it. So take care, everyone. Bye for now.